this is a conversation with the very well-known author Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, who many readers actually started reading, as something that they thought they were looking at, either a historical book or a romantic book. And then they discover it's a bit of a combination of both. Very strong characters, very strong women characters. I'm not even going to call them female characters, very strong women characters. It could be warriors, it could be a very regular woman, citizen of the world. And then many readers, both men and women across age groups, also started seeing those characters come to life. And it's an honor and a privilege to welcome Chitra to our conversation this morning for me and middle of the night for her. Hi, Chitra.
Hi, it's good to talk to you.
Thank you for making time, and thank you for staying up this Christmas season. And
my pleasure, Karuna. I'm happy to speak to you and reach many of my readers through this conversation.
Yeah, and the conversation actually it's going to be led by you, Chitra, where a couple of your old readers wanted me to check with you about, have you stopped doing fiction now? We're done. Are we only going to get nonfiction from you now? Because your fiction
no, not at all.
So intense, and they love you so much for the fantasy world you take them into.
Yes, no, not at all. In fact, I have already started working on my next book of fiction. This book that is coming out, which I'm very excited about, An Uncommon Love. This was something very different for me. And I really did it because the subject was so important to me and meant something to me. Otherwise,
and it's not your first nonfiction. I loved the one about Jindan Kaur, a character from history with so many facets that probably historians know who research into her, but regular readers really wouldn't. There isn't that much on her.
Yeah, so that was an interesting mix, right? The Last Queen about Maharani Jinda, because yes, it is historical, but it is also a novel because so little is known about her inner life. We only know, when Maharaja Ranjit Singh passes
this one's mother, that one's wife, and the exile. But who was she?
Yeah. Yes, who was she? That is not known. And that is the fictional part that I created. I knew several facts of her life. Like you said, she was married at this time. She became a widow at this time. She had to escape from Lahore with her baby
travels,
son.
exactly. And how far she traveled as a young woman.
Yes, exactly. She escapes from Lahore to Kashmir. She comes back when pretty much all of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's other heirs have died. She takes over the kingdom. She's put into prison by the British. But what's going on in her mind? That's what I wanted to create. What was she feeling? How much did she love her son and her husband and her country? Those are the fictional parts that I created. So that was, yes, you're right. That is a mix of fiction and nonfiction.
And very hard to tell, because for a first read, I read it twice actually. For a first read, I thought you did chance upon some other stories or folklore even, or papers or songs in maybe Punjabi or some writing in Gurmukhi, which, how sometimes these treasures unearth themselves or are with scholars or with older families or with the erstwhile royal families' libraries. So that blend between fiction and nonfiction, I was quite, foxed in where does it end and what is the fact and which is the history part of it and which is
and I wanted that. I wanted it to be like a seamless story of a life, right? So I wove those things in. I wove in, like even she would write a letter, there would be a sentence in it. And I would take it, but I would think about, okay, where was she when she wrote this? What might she have been wearing?
So you put yourself in her shoes. You become the character.
Yes, you said it just right. So I had to really become the character. And that's true for pretty much all the fiction I write. I have to become the character. So when I'm writing Palace of Illusions, I have to forget that I'm Chitra. and I have to become Draupadi. I have to feel the vibe of Draupadi. She's in that sabha and they're going to pull off her clothes. I mean, how does that feel? If I don't feel it, the reader will never feel it. That's what I think.
Is that why, as a woman author, you also chose to write about these strong women characters and not, say, male characters or
Well,
any other gender?
you know, it is a mix of an artistic choice and a political choice, because early in my life, as I was studying literature, I was like, look, we're studying all these male authors, and either they're writing about men and the women are in the periphery, or they're writing about what they believe women to be, which is, you know,
A
some
little
would like
deviated
us
from
to do it.
reality.
Yes, yes. It was the male version of what
The
they
male
think a
gaze,
woman feels.
the,
The male
those
gaze,
characters were all
exactly.
male gaze. Yeah.
The male gaze. Now, some writers were able to overcome it. I think Tagore does a great job in some of his novels, which I read when I was growing up and reread when I started writing. But most male writers are really, they're coming from that male gaze. And I really wanted to shift that balance. I wanted the woman to be at the center and the woman to be felt from the inside. So,
and that comes naturally to a woman.
Yeah, that is what I really do think that. I think that is more natural to a woman than to a man. As I said, exceptional male writers can overcome that. But
Did you face initial critique about it? Or she's writing about women, you know, or she's writing about strong women, so she's being what they think is their idea of a feminist, which is totally not the correct description of a feminist as we know, but as history has proven. But did you face critique when you did only women characters and advice? आप कुछ और लिखिए, madam, you know.
Yeah, in the beginning, critics were like, oh, one more story about women, one more story with women at the center. But, you know, that was important to me. That was my project, right? As you might know, I do a lot of activist work right from many years from college in the field of domestic violence and women's empowerment. So that was my project. I was like, one of the reasons that women do find themselves stuck in abusive situations is because they see themselves through the male gaze of the abuser, and they don't feel that they can survive on their own. They don't feel that they deserve a life of dignity. So,
or unless they become men, unless they become very male gendered themselves, very masculine themselves.
Exactly. So unless they kind of repeat what's been done to them, unless they repeat that kind of action, then they cannot become independent. But so my project was to show another way, another kind of woman character. She's strong, but she's very woman, you know? She doesn't give up being a woman, and she's very strong, but she's also very human, and she's flawed. And that's one of the things that I believed in from the beginning, creating women characters, especially my central characters, who are also flawed, because that is the human condition. We have good qualities, we have bad qualities, we make good decisions, we make mistakes.
And gender has nothing to do with that.
Gender has nothing and should have nothing to do with it. And in fact, if you look at novels with men at the center, they are plenty flawed, and it's quite okay for them to be flawed. And so why is it that women should be held to this unrealistic expectation that they need to be perfect, that they need to be 100% virtuous 100% of the time? That is not the human condition. And I hope that I'm able to show through characters like Sita in Forest of Enchantments, Draupadi in Palace of Illusions, but also and Maharani Jinda, but also very ordinary women who
the
rise
Mistress of
to heroic
Spices.
level. They rise to heroic levels. Like in my novel, Independence, there are 3 sisters. In the beginning of the novel, you know, they're just young women, you know, girls almost. But when tragedy strikes their family, they rise.
They grow up.
They grow up. So
Yeah.
that is, I think, very much my project, to show and hopefully, invite readers to feel that this is something I can do in my life. I
So
can rise to.
apart from a typical, oh, she's writing one more book about a woman, any other interesting feedback or even a critique that you've got either from a publisher or a reader?
Well,
Something
and
that maybe.
I should say from the time I wrote Palace of Illusions, really, which to my great surprise and delight did so well and kind of swept the country, and got very good reviews in the US as well, which was, I wasn't, I didn't know what.
You weren't expecting it?
No, I was not expecting it. I wrote it because it was my passion. I had no idea what it would be. So after that, I haven't really faced, oh, she's writing about women again, because
Yeah,
now
it
it's
had
more
to be earlier, before fame arrives at your doorstep as a writer. I'm sure
right.
you've had a lot of critique and a lot of comments, maybe
Yes,
some discouragement as well.
yes, yes. I think one of the things is that people also said, oh, she's writing about another, woman-related issue. Maybe it's domestic violence, or maybe it is how to deal with infidelity in your partner in a relationship. What are you expected to do when you find out that there's been infidelity, or bringing up a child as a single mother?
Yeah.
So those are some of the themes that keep coming back.
So they
I
would
think
label you feminist in that sense of what they think feminism is, a woman just fighting all the time,
well,
a woman trying to be a man.
Yeah. So I think my project is to show the woman in all her aspects. Yes, some of the time she's fighting. I don't think she's fighting like a man or to be a man. She's just fighting to survive the situation with her loved ones, to better than survive, to
But did
kind of
you get
flourish.
critique? Did you get
Yes,
told that?
in the beginning, there were critiques. Then why all these problems? And then, of course, as a writer who's not living in the country, there were a
Yeah.
whole bunch of other critiques, like, oh, why is she writing about these problems and she's living in
Sitting
the
there.
US? Yes,
Yeah.
living there, writing about here.
But you brought it up.
Yeah, I grew up in India, right? I went there. I
Life
lived there.
experiences were formed here.
Yes, I was really formed by my first 20 years in India. And also I do write about immigration and the issues that immigrants, especially immigrant women, have dealing with racism. That's like a big thing in my writing as well. So I'm writing about both. I'm writing about issues here in the US and
As papers?
Yes.
As essays and papers?
Sorry, say that again.
You're writing them as essays and opinions and papers and.
Well, some of it is nonfiction, but most of it is through my fiction. Like novels like Mistress of Spices deal with a lot of immigrant issues.
Correct.
Which were important in that time, but sad to say have become even more important.
Yeah.
They continue.
It seems so real even now.
I would like to believe that people will learn with time, but the issues with racism, the issues with gang warfare, they continue. They just continue. So, I mean, yeah.
But that movie really, that film, when it made into a movie, really brought a lot of attention, even to you. People learned to pronounce your name. So that must have been an interesting experience. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I remember that Gurinder Chadha invited me to the premiere, which happened in Canada at the film festival, and it got a standing ovation, and I was like, wow. It was just unreal. It was
for an author, really, must be so surreal.
It was. We writers, at least me, we're used to being in our little study. We're just writing away. We're just imagining in our heads. And then, you have to see it on the big screen. Not that I agreed with everything about the interpretation, but it was still a wonderful experience.
Yeah. And you're sitting there being all embarrassed and shy and coy and stage fright. And you're not even on screen.
they're like, come up to the stage with all of the actors and the directors. And I'm like, oh, me? But yeah, it was fun. And now it's very exciting because Palace of Illusions has been optioned. So,
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, we'll have to see. We won't say too much. We'll just think
You
good
can just tell
thoughts.
us who's in the lead.
Sorry?
You can just tell us the casting.
Oh, all right. I don't know the casting myself because everyone has to sign contracts before they will tell me about the casting. So all they say is, we have some wonderful people, and I know you'll be excited about it. So I have to, hold
Trust
on to
them.
my
Trust the
suspense.
process.
Yes. And The Last Queen has also been optioned. So I'm very
Wow.
excited about that.
Is that
Independence has also been
a
optioned.
new a pivot for you? Because one by one, here you
Yeah,
are on the big screen.
yeah. I have no control over what the final product will be. So I don't know. I mean, I hope, but I don't really know if readers will like the final product or the audience will like the final movie or they might have criticism. But I figure, what's the worst that can happen? If they like the movie, great, more people will buy the book. If they don't like the movie, people who read it will say the book was better.
Yeah, win-win.
Win-win.
But this is interesting, no, that you mentioned this. It's your story still remains yours. It's the medium that changes, right?
Yeah, the story is mine, but really the film belongs to the director. And I have to be
Would you
okay.
co-write? What is the process? Where does an author get involved when their books turn into a film?
Well, when the book turns into a film, they will say the author will be consulted. All right. But at least in my contracts, it never says the author is going to get her way. It never says that.
But
Right.
in your experience,
Yes.
I mean, the contracts are on paper, but experience are in flesh and blood. So
Yeah.
how was your experience from book to
They'll
film?
take some of my ideas,
Okay.
they'll tell me that, okay, this is how we are visualizing this scene. All right. And then I'll say, yes, I agree, or hey, maybe you should look at this. Or I'll say, but look, this changes the character. So I'll give my honest input. But at the end of the day, the director will make the decisions, as is correct. It's like when I'm writing a book and I show the
As have
first
you.
draft.
I was just going to say that, as
Yeah.
have you. Then
Right?
Jindal Kaur
So
said, "Oh, my son," but maybe she didn't say, "Oh, my son," you know?
yes,
So
yes,
as you
yes,
have put words into what an emotion of a mother could be. But would they
exactly.
change? Are dialogues changed or added from a book
Um,
to screen?
Usually they'll keep most of it, but sometimes they'll change because a book is much longer in terms of
Right,
that experience. So they're condensing. So they'll
right.
take out a lot and they'll keep what is most important, what they think is most important. And that is the nature of the medium. So I'm okay with it. Now, one of my books, One Amazing Thing, has been optioned, and they are saying they're going to make a series out of it. Now,
Okay.
when they make series, then it's much closer to the book because
Right.
they have
The
more
times
space.
are, yeah, more space.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So maybe, the dialogue will be more like what it's exactly in the
That's
book.
book number 4 becoming a series or a film. Are you
Well,
directly going
like
to
I
just start
said,
writing?
we're just keeping our fingers crossed, hoping
No, I'm
everything.
just curious to know if you're directly going to start writing series and films. Just skip the whole publishing bit. Sorry, publishers, and move on to your
You know,
filmmaking career.
okay, there's two things against that. First of all, I think I would be a much better writer than I'd be a script writer because I just
You're
don't
so
know. And
modest.
even if I study it, it will take me some time to do it well. And secondly, I myself, I just love books. Books do something different from movies. I mean, I'm all for my books becoming movies, but I know books do something. I'm an avid reader. And that thing that we do with books, when we imagine that whole world in our heads, right? We interpret that character in our hearts.
Hmm.
The movie just doesn't give you that experience because it presents those things to you. It says, here they are, watch and admire. But the book says, here's this world, but you have to
Imagine
be
yourself.
a
Yeah.
co-creator, right? You have to
Yeah.
imagine it. You have
Yeah.
to feel that character in yourself.
I think that answers the question quite definitely. You're not changing careers in a hurry.
I don't foresee that. I really do love writing, and there's a real pleasure in creating a book.
But there's
It's
also great
difficult.
pain. So please tell us a few candid pointers about that. While there is great pleasure, there is also great pain.
There's lots of pain. First of all, you get stuck.
And
Now,
give us a
this has
reality
happened.
check.
This has happened to me in all my books. You get writer's block, and then you get stuck.
Even
And
you?
oh, yes,
Isn't
yes,
it
yes, yes.
flowing nicely, like the stories flow? You get into your room and start writing and emerge after a month with a book.
You only see the final product. So, my family knows, and they know definitely when I'm having writer's block, because I become very grumpy. And
Oh.
also I eat a lot of chocolate.
The sugar
In
rush
frustration.
helps your writer's block flow.
That's what I would like to believe, but I think I just eat it in
I can
frustration.
just see advertising opportunities opening up for you. Here come the chocolate companies.
There you go. When in doubt, eat.
Oh, we don't say no. X brand.
X brand.
What else happens? Define the second. Just three. Just writer's block. What is the second pain?
Well, the second thing is that you really do have to put a lot of your life on hold, because you're giving a lot of time, right? And so, I have had to learn to balance, and really my friends and family have had to learn that, writing when I'm in the middle of a project, the project comes first.
Right.
And everything else.
Which means how many hours a day are you at your desk?
If the writing is going well, it could be 8 hours, right?
Wow.
With a break for lunch. Yeah, with a break for lunch and maybe a walk.
So you're in a zone.
Yeah, I'm in the zone. And some of that zone is just gathering material.
Correct.
Because especially for the books that I've written recently, I've had to gather more material because there's a lot of historical stuff.
Do you not have a research team?
No, I do all my own research because I do all my own research because I just believe in that. Because I believe that when I discover the facts myself, I understand them better, and I understand their effect on my characters better. So
you write without a team at all. You don't have research team.
No, I don't have a research team.
It's a one-woman kingdom.
It's a one-woman enterprise, at least you would say. But that helps
exhausting.
It is. It's a lot of, but it's a lot of work. But I feel that it gives my work integrity. I mean, everyone writes differently, but I feel that when I've really searched and researched and found things, then those things become alive for me. If someone had just handed those things to me, then
But you probably would have still re-researched them.
I would have, right? If I found something that was interesting, I would have had to re-research it to verify and understand it better. So this is just what works for me. I know it probably slows me down some more, but it's a good slowing because then I'm also processing the information I'm getting.
Right. And this is the process it works for you because you've created it for yourself.
Yes, right from the beginning, this is how I research.
But take me back to the beginning, your first book. How and why did it even happen?
Okay, well, my very first book was a collection of stories, Arranged Marriage. And I was very blessed because it went on to win a big award, the American Book Award. And that really established, oh gosh, I want to say 1995, maybe, or 96.
Oh, just yesterday.
95, I think.
Wow.
But that was very much based on immigrant life, especially the lives of immigrant women. And so A
Why
lot
did
of
you write that? Why did you write that at all?
well, I was so interested in it. That was my life experience. That was
Right.
what was changing in my life. I had moved from India, and life was just very, very
Different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Both in a good way and a bad way. It was
Mm.
like a big culture shock. This is way before internet and all of that. When I came from India, I didn't have a very good sense of what I would find in the US.
Right.
So
And
I
you're
was
not video
processing.
calling family for support.
No, no. That was the time where if I wanted to get in touch with my family, and I was a student, I didn't have money to call India. That time calls were very, very
Very
expensive,
expensive. Yeah.
right? So I would have to write aerograms, and they would write aerograms back to me. So
Wow.
it was like almost a month before I would, by the time I sent and they sent back, it was so you felt very cut off.
Right.
I felt very, you know,
Isolated.
alone,
Yeah.
isolated. And I think I turned to writing as a way of understanding that experience and
Mm.
also creating an inner world where I wasn't isolated, where I had all these characters. They
Yeah.
peopled my world. I felt very close to them. I was also writing about some of the issues that women particularly were facing when they came there. So, that was a different kind of research. That was very much on the street research. Like I
Mm.
was always observing and I was always listening, like I was always eavesdropping on conversations. Especially, I got a lot of my material by going to, like, the desi parties that would be
Oh,
held.
fun.
I would go to this dinner party, everybody's gossiping. You know what happened here? You know what
You
happened
went
to
for the
this
food
one?
and you got great gossip back.
Yes, yes. And I would just listen. I was getting story ideas all the time.
So the
So that
characters are
was,
building in your head.
yes, I was imagining, I was building, I was watching people using little bits of them in my
All your
book.
friends are going to see this and make mental notes.
Oh my gosh. All right. So after that book came out, I thought, okay, I found an easy and fun way to research. You go to a party, you have a good time, you eat good food, and you're getting material for stories. But after that book came out, when I went to a party, everybody was very suspicious. All the
Yeah.
talk would just die down. They
So
would
they
all like
started
look at me.
recognizing themselves in your characters.
Yes. A little bit. I disguised everyone. But so
Yeah, but
that
you know
was
how it
different
is,
research.
right? It's their inner devil.
Yes, yes. So, that was a different kind of research. And even now, when I'm writing contemporary books about immigration issues, or, just describing,
Now there's
especially
more
now,
political aspects involved, right?
yes, yes. And especially now, I'm doing a lot of intergenerational things because now our community has been here longer.
Right.
There will be grandmothers and mothers and daughters. So I'm very interested in that relationship. So a book like Before We Visit the Goddess deals
Mm-hmm.
with these three
Yeah.
generations. The grandmother is still in
Has her
India,
own
but
set
then
of ideas and yeah.
she has her own ideas. The mother is the one who moved, and the
Yeah.
granddaughter is brought up, born
It's
and
just
brought up
local.
in the
She's a
US.
local. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that work? What carries over from generation to generation? That's a big interest of mine now,
Yeah.
especially I think as I'm getting older, I'm very aware of these generational issues and what we pass on to the next generation.
But do you think that is also something that is changing in your readership as well? You have a different kind of readership now that you did earlier.
You know, I am happy always to see that my readership seems to be of many ages. I would have thought that some of these issues are for older readers, right? Because
Mm.
they're going through the same
Mm.
kind of generational issues.
Mm.
But when I come to India, particularly to release a book, I'm delighted to see how many young people are reading my books. I'm like, wow, guys.
Oh, you're still
You like
surprised
my
at
books?
it.
Sorry?
You're
Say that.
surprised at it.
Yes, it's surprising to me, but especially I love in recent years, there is such a culture of bookstagrammers, right? They're writing about books on Instagram, and they're
Yeah.
writing very intelligently in great depth. And
Mm.
I'm delighted to meet all these people, and mostly they're very young people. So, I
How
think
how are you involved into the coolness of social media and Instagram, and suddenly
I
you go
just,
dormant and then you're posting, which I
I
assume is
just,
you,
I,
that you don't have managers doing it for you.
no, I do all my social media myself. I mean, sometimes my publisher will send me something and say, like, the new book is coming out, so they've sent me images and I'll
Right.
put it, but I will write my own post to go with it because I
Yeah.
love connecting to my readers through social media. And that's all I do. My social media is very clear cut. I only write about books, maybe sometimes about women's issues, which I feel are important to discuss. And a lot of times I write about cooking
Yeah,
because
I saw
I love to
green beans
put
or subsies.
and I'm surprised. Like I'll put up a food post like that, and people are so positive. There's so many people who are really interested. They're like, send us the recipe, put the recipe on your blog. So sometimes I'll put the recipe then on my blog. I remember,
Food posts
uh,
really get a lot of interest and feedback, and
yeah,
everybody's
and
so
I think
hungry all the time. What to do?
you know, I just like, so when I'm not writing and I want to be creative, I do it in the kitchen, right? So, and I
Yeah.
love making things from scratch. So recently I learned how to make idlis. Now my husband is South Indian, so
Right.
he was much, much elated when I managed, I
Impressed.
figured out,
Finally, after how
finally,
many years you figured this out?
yeah, like 40 years of marriage, she's finally
Only.
learned to make idlis. So I put up that post, like me holding a plate of idlis, and oh my gosh, it went like viral. It was really funny. Yeah.
But social media is also something that is a very connector of generations and also divisive. Have you found that as well?
Well, touch wood. For me, it's I'm really writing all my posts, everything really for my readers.
Hmm.
So I think books do bring people together, especially if they enjoy a certain kind of book or certain kind of writing. So, one never knows. That's why I say touch wood by God's grace. So far, my audience is very positive, and there are also people who read a lot. And
Yeah.
so,
And then social media becomes just another element. It doesn't take away from reading. It doesn't.
exactly, because we're talking about books, and I'll put poems. I
So there's
often
no
put
danger,
my
right?
favorite.
There are people warning about a whole generation which only does reels and social media. Who's
Well,
reading? No.
no, I mean, I think I'm in a little niche of
Hmm.
people who like reading. So,
Hmm.
that's the only reason people would come to my page. So,
Hmm.
oh, one other thing. So I love wearing saris. So
Yeah.
when I wear a sari, I'll put a picture on social media and I'll ask people, sometimes to post their photos with saris. So Facebook is particularly good about that because they can post their photos and then we
Yeah.
have
Reply with
a
that.
conversation about saris, which is actually related to my writing a lot because, my women are
Yeah.
often wearing saris or choosing not to wear saris, but it's an issue, right? So,
How does your family react to this Chitra on social media? It's another persona. The
well,
writing Chitra is another persona. The cook is another persona.
yeah,
Social media Chitra is another persona. Your
yeah.
family deserves
So,
an award right there.
So my family, especially my children, they just have one thing. They're like, don't write about us on social media. So the
Yeah,
only
that's a
thing I
cardinal
do,
rule. That's a commandment, of course.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
that's a
I
cardinal
don't write about them except maybe, I'll post like a photo of me with a child. That's about it. So,
but
yeah.
tempting, no? To out them and do some nice cringe
Oh my
posts.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes. But I want to keep my relationship I have a good relationship with my boys. I want to keep it like that. They told me a long time, don't ever put us in your books. I said, okay.
But that's an important tip to learn for future mothers and writers and the combination of both.
Yeah, you have to respect other people, right? You have
Yeah.
to respect what they are comfortable with.
Consent is something
Yes,
very,
consent.
very, very
Yeah.
important.
And as women, we know how important it is. Consent
Yeah.
is very important because
And how rare it
many
is
times,
often.
how rare it is. Many times people do not ask women for consent. Yeah.
Chitra, I also wanted to check, since you're in town next, are you there for the Jaipur Literature Festival?
Yes,
And what are
absolutely.
you looking forward to at the festival? Will you also be speaking? Is there an interaction planned?
Yes, there's coming to the JLF is always like a highlight, a special highlight of my India trips, because now that I don't have family living anymore. My mother passed since my mother passed away. I don't have immediate family. Uh, Books are the reason I come to India, and
Oh, that's
JLF is always like a high point. And I will be talking in JLF and about my new book that's coming out. And so I'm really looking forward to launching the book at JLF. And the book is titled An Uncommon Love. And it's about the early years of Sudha Murthy and Narayan Murthy.
so
And
the
that's my
JLF, in
first
fact,
book.
becomes your family reunion venue with your readers and your friends.
Yes, you said it beautifully, because over the years, yes, I feel when I go to meet family, it's like a family of readers, and I love also the organizers whom I've come to know over the years.
So we hope to see you there when you're at JLF next. It's literally the first trip of the year for
Yes,
you, the first big travel.
yes, yes. I look
I
forward to
hope to
it,
see
and
you and your new
hopefully see
books
you.
and get some of your old books signed as well.
That would be lovely.
But in another, I'd like to just ask you very point blank, what is next? You can tell us, trust us, it's only us.
Well,
You're already working on your next book.
yes, I am. I'll
Do you
tell
not
you
take
this month.
breaks? What is this need
No,
to?
no. Oh my gosh, I love writing. If I don't write for a while, I feel like, in like my food isn't going to digest. I like writing.
You can't risk
Now,
that. You're writing for health reasons and digestive issues.
yes, exactly.
Very
And
important.
family reasons. My husband says that when I'm not writing, I'm very grumpy, so I should always be working on a project.
Yeah, keeps him safe.
Yes, keeps them safe, exactly. And even my children, when they were little, so sometimes I would be getting, upset with them. Maybe they have made a mess, they haven't cleaned their room, they haven't done their homework. They would be like, Mommy, go to your writing desk for a while.
Oh,
Can
thank
you
you
go
so
to
much.
your
That's a
writing desk?
fantastic author's inspiration. Why are you inspired to write? To keep the family peace.
That
But
also.
my favorite will remain, I write to keep digestive issues at bay.
There you go.
That's the best reason. Thank you so much for making so much time. We hope to see you
Welcome.
soon in person when you're in the country and in town.
Yes, yes,
Which
I'm
is soon.
excited. I'm always so excited to come to India and meet my readers. I have so much love for them. I have so much appreciation. So yes, I'm looking forward to coming to Jaipur very soon. Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be lots of citizen family as well waiting to get their book signed.
that would be lovely, and a big hello to all the citizen family.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.